who here does bring their own device to their workplace? Just show of hands. So about a quarter. And of that quarter, who has some sort of management on that device for those apps, for their apps? So about the same people. Okay, for those who aren't aware, so when I'm talking about BYOD, so just a bit about me actually. So I'm a technology consultant for HPE Pointnext Services. I work out of the UK. So we are primarily focused on all things modern workplace. Top tip as well, if you have got your certs, go along, you can get your badges as well for those certs that you've got, like me. I'll leave the contact details on at the end. So what do we do before I delve into the topic? So we perform and deliver all things digital workplace, so workplace platform as a service, so intelligent workplace includes things like wayfinding, how do I get to my meeting room? When I get to my meeting room, is the temperature right? Is our meeting rooms being underutilised, overutilised? We do design and migrate, so from legacy platforms to Office 365, Microsoft 365, Windows 10 as a service. And we also do offerings around secure workplace. So I think one of my colleagues has given talks on securing your information in the workplace. So that can include Azure Information Protection, Microsoft Information Protection. We have a whole raft of consultants that can help deliver your business needs for those topics. So moving on to this topic, so BYOD in the modern workplace, what typically are the problems and what are we trying to solve? So firstly, there's typically no policy for bringing your own device in a lot of modern workplace. People just rock up, do what they need to, which can lead to all sorts of problems, which I'll come to in a minute. Devices can get lost or stolen. How do we make sure that information isn't lost or stolen with the device? So that ties into data breaches. And equally, it's up to users whether they set a password pin or if they don't. So ways around that. So when we're talking about BYOD management, we're talking about managing the application, not the device. So the key is we're talking about managing, say, the Office apps or any of the apps that you can manage rather than the user's device. And that is key because users obviously want that privacy. There's a boundary there. You're not managing the device, you're managing the app. And that's the key difference and the key thing to articulate when you're configuring this. And I'll come to sort of comms and management of change in a minute. So, record those considerations, but facts from the field, lessons learned, call it what you like. It's things that we have learned as an organisation, and I just wanted to relay that to you. So if you're trying to do this sort of thing in your organisation, come and speak to us, we can help. We've got the expertise to help you with this sort of thing. So first thing, it sounds really boring, but testing. Test. Have multiple devices if you have that luxury. If you don't, try and get your hands on some. Android, iOS, have different levels of OS levels on there as well. Have a test plan. What are you trying to achieve? What's the expected result? What's the actual result? And the reason for all of this, it really boils down to understanding behaviours. What is a user going to see when they log into that device? Are they going to get blocked? Are they going to get allowed? Are they going to get prompted for pins? What is going to happen? And that can help you in the longer term. So I'll give you one example. One customer I recently worked with was, so there's certain scenarios, if you don't save, let's say, a document in Microsoft Word, you can copy and paste data. Once you save that into a corporate location, Intune or Microsoft Endpoint Manager, as they now call it this week, we'll say, oh, you can't copy and paste that. It's just corporate data. You can't copy and paste this to notes or email or somewhere else. But unless you understand the key difference of having not saved and saved and how those two things interact, then you don't know. Because what happens is, so in this particular customer, users took to Yammer and go, oh, I can copy and paste data, why is that? But actually you have to take the time, so I'll come to publishing comms and FAQs in a minute, but understand how and why stuff happens and when it happens, so that you're ahead of the game, so that when users start using this stuff, you can go, yep, know about that, this is why, and see here. So that ties into user experience. So what is it like from a user standpoint? So as part of this, you're testing, you should be thinking about, are users being prompted for a PIN? Are they being prompted too often for a PIN? Not enough. Do they get notifications on their device? Do they get notifications on their watch? Are they allowed to do things like sync their contacts to their phone? Really useful, but some organisations do want you to do that and some don't. All of that boils down to the way you configure in Endpoint Manager, app configuration and app protection policies. And you have to think quite carefully about some of that stuff. I'll give you an example. I'll come to another example in a minute, but essentially different customers will have different requirements for that. So think very carefully about what you're going to allow to appear on a device or what you're going to allow to be saved and where. So comms, I've already touched on comms, but it's really important. We have a management of change function within our organisation. Get a comms plan together. If you don't have one, get one. It can be as simple as a Yammer group or a SharePoint or whatever it needs to be. Usually we tie that in with email or other methods of communication, have drop-in centres, promote change champions, peer-to-peer knowledge sharing, all of that stuff. Get the known issues out there. Don't be afraid to air the issues. It's good to get issues out. It doesn't matter if everything doesn't work on day one, but at least have that issues list published somewhere. Because people will say, well, this is rubbish. Why doesn't this work? And it's fine to just air those concerns or issues. Again, offer training, offer drop-in sessions for users to come in, because some users will be completely alien. I use my phone, the person I use, but I have no idea what you're talking about, Outlook Mobile or app protection policy, any of this stuff is completely foreign. Offer some sort of training, and again, FAQ sort of ties into known issues, but if you have that available, it will cut down typically, one, your support tickets, and two, the amount of noise on Yammer or email or distribution lists where people just take to it and go, this is rubbish, I can't get email on my phone, and I can't get my contacts and all this stuff. So put it all out there, air it any concerns. Security reviews. So let's wind forward a little bit. Imagine we have now designed the solution and we're piloting it. So one of the things I think is really useful is to perform reviews. And by that I mean looking in Microsoft Endpoint Manager and seeing, are users being blocked? If they're being blocked, is it because they're non-compliant or is it because of something else? So obviously what we don't want is users loading in, say on Android, side-loading apps and putting apps that are not from the App Store, they're from another location. But equally, you can also set things like, if a device is not seen for 20 days, block it until the user next signs in. That's fine until, again, some other users from organisations that we've worked with, they're out in the field. They could be out in Central Africa. There's no connectivity, there's no cell, and there's definitely no Wi-Fi. So be realistic and target different groups accordingly. It might be that you need to target a specific user group with a longer offline grace period because they need to do their job, but they don't actually come into the office or don't actually sign in because they've got no connectivity for another 40 days because they're really busy out in the field doing important work, aid relief, whatever it is. So it's really important to consider those options there. And lastly, device models and OS levels, etc. So if I flick forward a second, so there's a stark difference between iOS and Android. How many people here use iOS? Just show of hands, and I'm guessing the rest presumably use Android. So iOS usually stalls ahead every year. Apple drop a new version of iOS, and you can see their stats from Apple only about 2 or 3 weeks ago. 55% of devices already use iOS 13. Fantastic. We can then, from a management point perspective, as an IT admin, we can say actually anything below iOS 12. Because you can see there's only a thin sliver there. Anything below iOS 12, we're not going to allow to sign in on Outlook Mobile or Word or whatever platform we choose, because actually we want devices to be compliant and we want them to be up to date. Android, on the other hand, so if you look there, look at the disparate spread of iOS, of OS versions. So that quadrant there, 58% of devices run an OS from the last 4 years. So it's a really different picture. Why is this important? Because the two are obviously very different, but there might be people on Marshmallow. So Android OS 6, it's only a few years old, but users could be stuck there. But equally, there is security flaws, security risk with those versions. So think very carefully about what you're setting and why. And it might be that you have stringent requirements and you do have a genuine need to only go T-1, T-2. That's fine. What I'm saying is be aware there are stark differences. So to conclude, one of the other last things that I think I've picked up on with numerous customers is the analytics. So there's a lesser known feature here called the Intune Data Warehouse. You can actually uplift some of the data that is in Endpoint Manager and plug it into things such as Power BI. It's really useful. You can get a lot of analytics data about who's compliant, who's not compliant. Obviously, if you're doing MDM, you can get a lot more about device compliance and sign-in info. But what we try and do with that as an organisation is actually we take that data, take that analytics work, and uplift it into a report or some sort of actions that you can deliver on, rather than just pretty graphs, because you kind of have to make sense of what is that showing me, and why am I seeing this, and again, review it as you go through the life of the product, because at the start you'll have a small number of users, you'll have a pilot phase, but as you go on, those graphs might change, for better or worse. Just take stock of them and think, why is that trend happening? And it's kind of the why we help you try and answer.